Check. Oh, it works. Helps if you turn it on. Good morning, friends. So this morning, we're going to get a glimpse of, you can keep going, Charles, the arc of our program year. And our theme this year is rooted in God's love. And so while we're talking about this and while we're hearing from different staff people and our senior warden, I want to make sure that people feel totally free to return themselves to the donuts and the coffee and the tea and the water and avail yourselves of those refreshments. So we'll talk together for about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll have an opportunity to talk one with another, to hear from each other about the ways in which we experience this community to help us be rooted in God's love. We also have lots of great waving from the Overlook space. They just disappeared. Some of our children waving as they see their Sunday school rooms. So we're going to talk about our annual theme, and our annual theme is that we are rooted in God's love, and that is drawn from the scriptures from Ephesians. I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth takes its name. I pray that according to the riches of his glory, he may grant that you may be strengthened in your inner being with power through his Spirit, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith as you are being rooted and grounded in love. I pray that you may have the power to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and know that the love of Christ surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Now to him who, by the power at work within us, is able to accomplish abundantly far more than we can ask or imagine. To God be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus, in all generations, forever. Amen. That is certainly a place to begin. Now, I'm looking around the room, and I wonder if anyone sees either Dr. Joe or Boykin. And I think I'm going to invite Father Keith to come up to give us his,
So throughout today, you're going to hear about different ways that we think about what it means to be rooted in God's love and what it means to live that out. And one of the areas that we want to invite you into in particular is into the various faith and action ministries that we have here at the church. To think about, and I know putting the cart before horse a little bit, but if we're rooted in God's love, then where are we called to go out and be? And in particular, there's many ways in which faith and action kind of is a big umbrella that encompasses a lot that's going on here. We have our committees that oversee different areas, our outreach and global mission and creation care committee. We have work that's happening with our racial healing committee, thinking about our history and culpability with racism in our local community and how then we reckon with that today. But one of the ways that we think about really in a very tangible way to put our faith in action is in our seasonal service events, which you can see a full calendar up right here. What these are really based around is that they are one-time events that anybody in the parish, these are intergenerational events, anybody in the parish can participate in, and that there's a role for anyone to do, and they're happening at a regular cadence throughout the year, about once a month. And each of them in their own way kind of touch also on another kind of theme or an area of ministry that we at the Chapel of the Cross are engaged in. So just to take an obvious example, but the Habitat Build Day, which is our first seasonal service event that's going to be happening at the end of this month on September 27th. Yes, that's a Saturday, right? We're going to be building over at Weaver's Grove, which is this big habitat community that's being built here in Orange County, if you haven't seen it yet. And for those of you who don't feel like swinging a hammer, we're going to have activities here in the morning, helping to prepare lunches that then will be served out on the job site at lunchtime, as well as participating in activities with our children so that they are also considering the ideas of community and what it means to help build a community up. So of course, this touches on themes of affordable housing and thinking about also our commitments here locally in Orange County to that. You can kind of look through the rest of the list. I don't think I have time to talk through all of them but I am asking you to mark your calendars now. The sign up for the Habitat Build Day is already up. Last year, the slots I think were full like 2 weeks out. So if you want a slot, please sign up for it now. There's shifts in the morning and in the afternoon. And I think the last thing that I'll say is that in this rhythm of the church's life, we would just invite you to think about these are tangible ways to put your faith into action. But then what is your invitation to go deeper? There are also other ongoing activities happening more on a regular basis if you feel like you can make a monthly or weekly commitment, as well as lots of nonprofits in the area that we're connected with, like through Justice United. And so that's all to say, if you want to know anything more about this, please come to me, come to Anita Howell, who I know is in the back, who is our vestry person for Faith in Action, and we can also make recommendations about, where you might go from there or where else you might plug in based on your interests. So thank you.
Thank you, Father Keith. So I heard Keith mention, maybe you want to calendar some things. Where do I find all this information? You might look around. They have spawned. The fall booklets have arrived. They're everywhere. They're at the back of the church and the back of the chapel. They might be on your table. They are online. But you can go ahead and take this with you and mark things and plan ahead in your calendar. I know that is helpful in our household to plan ahead for the ways in which we want to say yes to living and acting in Christian community. So I want us to hop to formation and think about what the arc of the formation calendar looks like for the year, how we will be rooted in God's love. And to do that, I'd like our Director of Christian Formation, Boykin Dunlap Bell, to tell us a little more.
Thank you. I am Boykin. I have a slide because as you probably already know, the annual theme comes from Paul's letter to the Ephesians. I'm probably not the only one in this room that struggles with Paul sometimes. So I wanted to look at the lectionary to see which other Bible passages we read on the day that we read this Ephesians passage. And it's the story of feeding the 5,000. Which kind of tells me everything I need to know. Well, not everything. I'll learn more during the year. But we are not rooted in God's love just for ourselves. We are rooted in God's love so we can provide fruit for others, shade for others, protection for others, all the things that Keith was talking about. This reading comes from John, and you'll see that it's a child that brings the bread and fish forward. So, of course, I love that. And I was just running around chasing children, which I do on most Sundays. But inside the brochures, you'll see all sorts of opportunities for small groups, special programs. I know Kathy would love to talk to people about the creation care, Love God, Love God's World. We've got special programs like Susanna Styron coming in October to talk about a movie called My Father's Name, which is about a woman who discovers that her much, much loved and respected father was involved in a lynching in Mississippi, and she tries to make reparations. I guess being rooted sometimes produces a tree that is not one you really want to look at. But it's going to be really interesting. We'll have a panel discussion. Anyway, just a vast array of programs to help us think about how being rooted in God's love will help us share that love with other people. So join us.
Thank you, Boykin. As I was getting ready this morning, I was thinking about the chorister's prayer, because it happened to be in the binder I was using. And it says, "Bless, O Lord, us thy servants who minister in thy temple. Grant that what we sing with our lips, we may believe in our hearts. And what we believe in our hearts, we may show forth with our lives." I feel like the chorister's prayer is a great introduction to the ways in which we'll be rooted in God's love through our music program in the coming year. And Dr. Joseph Cosby will tell us more.
Thank you. So good to be with you all. I don't usually get to come to this. I have left adults unattended upstairs. So if you hear giant thuds, I'll have to go. This year is a very exciting year for us. You can see inside the booklet all the special musical things are listed off by themselves on 2 different pages, also listed in the context throughout the liturgical year. We have lots of evensongs this year. We are going to do some things outside of our walls. We're going to go to Davidson and sing an evensong there. We're going to do some things with our parish orchestra. It is unbelievable. We have about 30 people in the parish orchestra this year, which is the biggest number we've had. But the most exciting thing this year is we are going to do Noah's Flood, which is a Chester miracle play about the biblical story that was set to music by Benjamin Britten, famous composer of the 20th century. And the picture you see on the left is when it was done at the Chapel of the Cross in the 1970s. So it has not been done since. And then on the right, you can see some of the animal masks that we're going to use. I did this in Texas about 10 years ago, and we are borrowing the animal hats that were made there, and we're going to make some of our own. One of the things that Britton did that was so ingenious is that he made the musical involve the entire community, which we will do as well, from our youth all the way through adults, building sets, running tech, memorizing lines, being animals. Any child in the parish can participate. You do not have to be a member of the parish. We'll use our parish orchestra along with folks from UNC, recorders, brass, trumpets, everything. It's quite an event. But that is sort of the culminating thing we will do in April this year. And it is clearly rooted, and it is rooted in all of you and in our community, because without you, we could not do it. So thank you all.
Joe's got to run. There we go. So I want to invite up Perry Kirsch, who is our senior warden, and she's going to reflect with us a little bit about the theme of being rooted in God's love and also what we have heard from the congregation around our mission and our ministry as we move forward in the coming year. Perry.
Good morning, everybody. So I wanted to take just a few minutes to catch you all up on what your vestry has been doing over the past couple of months. I don't think I've really gotten to address the congregation since our annual meeting. And we've been busy. And I'm very honored, I will say, to be serving my second term as the senior warden. And I encourage all of you to think about vestry service. I think it's amazing. As you all may recall, earlier this year, we began a church-wide discussion around the mission of our parish. Do you guys remember being in this space? We did the fun word cloud exercise just to get us thinking about what our mission is. And I think a lot of times when we hear the words mission statement, if you're in the corporate world, we kind of roll our eyes a little bit. But I think in our church environment, this is truly so important. This is who we are, what we believe, how we live out our faith. So I would like to share, and Mary Kat perfectly teed me up on this. I'd like to share what your vestry has voted on to be our new mission statement. And I will read it out, and we're going to expand on that a little bit this morning. First, the Chapel of the Cross seeks to form disciples of Jesus who welcome all in the name of Christ, grow in faith and community, and serve our neighbors. So we're going to expand on each one of these a little bit. We welcome all in the name of Christ to an active, intergenerational Episcopal church in the heart of Chapel Hill on the edge of the university campus. We grow in faith and community through worship and music, education, fellowship, and pastoral care. And we serve our neighbors through partnerships and shared ministries within the church, the community, and the world. We are committed to living out this mission, and as a vestry, we wanted to make sure that we had the appropriate staff in place to help us do so. Earlier this year, we engaged you all, as well as our staff and multiple communities throughout the parish, in conversation about our human capital needs, which those are really just fancy words for our people project. As you know, we did this same thing around our building needs several years ago, where as a parish, we started to look at what our building needs were going to be over the next 1, 2, 3, even up to 5 years. And this has been so helpful for us as a vestry, particularly as we look at what our capital needs are around budgeting, so that we can say in 3 years, we're going to need to have this amount of money to take care of this need. In 5 years, we're going to need to be looking at these things. And so we started to look at the same thing around our human capital needs. How does our staff need to look as we talk about where we're going to be as a parish over the years? And while we expected to be looking at ways to scale our work, what became abundantly clear pretty quickly was that we as a parish need to grow our staff simply to maintain the amazing work that we have grown accustomed to accomplishing without burning out our beloved staff. We listen to our staff, we listen to parish committees to hear both the gifts and the challenges, and we realized that we have to grow in order to maintain. We then looked at comparisons to peer parishes and realized that we are actually understaffed in some pretty key areas. One of the first roles we recognized we needed was a director of parish giving. Last year, we were able to hire a part-time professional to help us in this area, and in a short period of time, she did quite a bit to help us with our annual campaign, but she left to take a full-time position. So over the summer, the vestry voted to increase this position to a full-time job, and we hope to have someone filling that within just a few weeks. Just to give you a little bit of insight about what some of the additional roles we're looking at, there are several support roles that we're looking at in the areas of music and liturgy, nursery staffing, and we'll also be assessing our building and maintenance staff needs, and even more in the coming years. While we would love to be able to add staff as soon as possible, we want to be really thoughtful about this process and see where our needs are greatest. And we also want to look at how adding new staff is going to shift responsibilities within our existing staff, freeing them up to take on other responsibilities. I also want to point out that we have the human capital that is in all of us. Ways that we can show up for our parish as volunteers in meaningful ways. Keith has already talked about some of the seasonal service opportunities that we have. And I hope you'll all consider being here next Sunday on the 14th, where we learn more about how each of you can plug in your time and your talent at the Chapel of the Cross and help us all be rooted in God's love to serve others. Our parish has proved over and over again that when we have a need, be it a new parish hall, a new organ, new lighting systems, that we will rise to the occasion and we will provide. I feel confident that our parish will do the same thing to help us fulfill our human capital needs in the coming years. So as we as a vestry launch into our budget planning process this fall and we commit ourselves to being rooted in love during our annual campaign, I hope all of you will keep our ongoing staffing needs in mind as you think about how much you want to pledge to the Chapel of the Cross for the coming year. We are so fortunate to have passed and maintained a balanced budget, ending the year in the black for the last 9 years. And I think that is absolutely remarkable. And as you all know, over 51% of our annual budget goes towards our staff salaries and benefits. But the kind of growth that we're imagining in the coming years, it's a bold ask for us. And it won't all come from our monthly gifts. We also have to look at how we can grow our endowment and ask all of you to really think about how you might include a living endowment as a part of your planned giving to the Chapel of the Cross. We are all rooted in love for this place that means so much to us, and we are rooted in love for the staff that shepherd us on our faith journeys. We ask all of you to consider how you might show up for the Chapel of the Cross in the coming year to help us continue to do all that God is calling us to do within these parish walls, here in our greater Chapel Hill community, and throughout the world. Let's continue to welcome, grow, and serve together as disciples of Jesus. If you want to know more about this People Project, I encourage you to look for these buttons. You'll see them on vestry members, you'll see them on members of the Personnel Committee, and engage us in conversation about what our plans are and how you can be a part of that. We all want to be a part of this people project together, and it will take all of us to bring it to fruition. So I thank you for your attention to this, and I thank you for the questions that you'll be asking, and just encourage you all to have a wonderful year rooted in love here at the Chapel of the Cross.
Thank you, Perry. That's a powerful message to think we need to grow just to maintain, to love and to serve and to welcome. So thank you for that. I want to invite us now to do a little bit of mingling. And as you're able, don't stand up yet, but as you are able to stand up, I want to invite you to find someone in the room you don't know yet or don't know well or you don't remember their names, and you can give them the gift of your name and receive their name. And then I'd like you to ask each other a question. How does this community help you to be rooted in God's love? Is it an experience of worship? Is it a centering prayer practice? Is it serving with racial healing? Is it short-term global mission? Is it serving on the finance committee? It could be anything. It could be anything. And so I'm actually really excited for us to now stand up and get to hear from one another a name and what helps you to be rooted in God's love in this place. And then once you finish, keep enjoying donuts and coffee together.